Well, good morning, everyone. Let's see, where am I at here? There we go. All right, I'm Jan Harrison from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 6th day of June, 2019. Well, it's 6-6 and then a 3 energy. So again, it all reduces, I think, to 6, doesn't it? 6 and 6 is 12, and 3 is 15. That reduces to 6. So yeah, higher self is tapping us on the shoulder today. Think about something other than yourself, something greater than yourself, or that you're part of something greater than just yourself. So I was going to review quickly here. Mostly what we've been doing here, I think, is heading in a new direction in terms of balance and harmony with other people. Starting to realize that maybe this whole separation thing and viewing people as the other instead of the other side of self isn't working out too well. So it kind of feels like we're kind of moving in that direction of realization and revelation, maybe. That maybe our perceptions took us in a place that weren't actually based in truth. And maybe it's time to let that go. I did something yesterday on the blog. I've been working on it kind of here and there in amongst everything else. I thought I could get it all done at once, but I couldn't. And so I had to, the garden needed watering and everything. But anyhow, it's called Herbs of Hecate, and it's over on the blog. I published it yesterday. And it just talks about some herbs that are associated with Goddess Hecate, and it turned out pretty well. So pictures are nice. They're current pictures. They're not, and so the lavender isn't flowering yet, but lavender is one of the herbs of Hecate, and so we talk a little bit about that. And so if you're interested, go over to the blog at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside, and check that out. I'd love you to do that. Subscribe to the blog if you like. That'd be fun too. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And I'd love you to click subscribe here as well. Become part of our Tarot and Rune family. Well, let's get started. Today's Thursday, isn't it? I think. Yeah, it's Thursday. So Jupiter governs today. Jupiter's in retrograde, though, for a little while longer. And so all that expansive energy that you might, use to initiate new things, you need to turn that inward. Maybe that's why maybe that's the foundation for all this new reflection on our perceptions. Maybe this is the inner work that Jupiter is asking us to do during its retrograde. So I think we've shuffled enough here. Let's go ahead and take the first card. Oh, let's draw that one. Well, we have the Page of Cups. Standing there holding a cup, a golden chalice in his right hand, his left hand on his hip. He's dressed in colors of the sea. You can see that the blue there, the grayish blue, matches the grayish blue of the sea. But there's energy here, isn't there? Because you can see the orange on him. So that's a little more catalytic. That's more Marsy than Piscean. But there you see the fish sticking its head out of the chalice there. Cups is about emotions, about our emotional presence. And when you see the page, sometimes it's called the princess in other decks. Sometimes it's the daughter. But what you're talking about is undeveloped potential there. It could be a message, typically like if it's the Page of Swords and you would say a message. But here we're exploring new emotions, new emotional resonance. And again, we can think that we were all driven by intellect, but in reality, it's emotion that drives everything. We try to balance it with intellect, balance it with will and all of that. But depending on how that happens, you can get someone who ends up being manipulative or what have you. But the Page of Cups, you're either talking about, given that it's a court card, you're either talking about someone who is a youthful person, maybe a student, or you're talking about the energy behind it. And with the page, I'm going to check just so that I don't forget something. You're talking about someone who's artistic and empathic. It could also mean the birth of a child or maybe a pregnancy. It just depends, though, on what other cards are paired with it. But it could be a message of hope, so that hence the idea of a birth. But again, he's gracious and dreamy and romantic. But when you talk cups, you're talking about flow as well. So given the empathic side of him, his intuition flows, basically. So basically, he meets the world with emotion and with feeling, kind of the way I do. Even though I'm a Libra, and the intellect and the reason and all of that, and the balance and all of that. But, I have I think my moon's in Gemini, and then, oh gosh, I've got Pisces here and there. I don't know if it's Chiron is in Pisces. I don't remember. I'll have to look. I don't have it memorized, but I used to, but I don't anymore. But basically, when you're empathic, everything is about feeling. It doesn't change to anything else until that manifests. And then maybe intellect comes in, and maybe will comes in, and maybe, earthiness comes in, and the practical side comes in. But it's all emotion based. When we know what we know, we think knowing is intellect. It's not, it's emotion. When the goddess breathed out the world, breathed out the universe, that was a loving gesture. That was a loving feeling. It was a loving manifestation. What's love? It's emotion. Let's do another card, though, so we can get some idea of what this page is actually doing here. Well, this is not good. We have the Three of Swords. You can see them piercing a heart. And if you look closely, the two on the side actually are piercing the heart behind the other one. So here you have a drama triangle. You have jealousy, you have betrayal. You have a triplicity happening, but basically you've got two, in other words, maybe there's two people behind the scenes trying to slander you, for example. So, we could have some emotions about that, right? And here we have, this could be a message. So something's happening, we have we relate to the Page of Cups via the heart here. We see the rain coming down. That's water. That's emotions. These suits are rarely simply just one suit, one element portrayed in them, even though they correspond with one element. Swords is intellect, but you see water there, don't you? You see emotion there. So something's happened. Maybe we're finding out that someone has betrayed us. And of course, we're going to feel something about that, aren't we? Something going on behind the scenes to sabotage us, maybe. Let's do a third card. And I always take the 13th card, just my process. Well, we have the Ace of Swords, so some new thinking, new reason, new strategy. I'm going to do a fourth card here. Usually I just do 3. Once in a while, though, I do 4. Here we have a hand coming out from the clouds holding a sword, pointing upward towards spirit. We see the crown of glory, of source energy. We see the garlands draped on either side of it for balance. But let's do a fourth card. Yeah, so we're getting a message here. We're getting some information here that we're being betrayed, or that there's nonsense going on behind the scenes. It could be a drama triangle between you and 2 other people. Could could be happening at work. It could be happening in your personal life. But then we see the Ace of Swords, where we're going to cut through the nonsense and we're going to have some reason and some clarity to all of it. We're going to find out. Let's see what the fourth card is, though, and maybe that's going to give us a clue. Right now, numerologically, we're looking at a 4. So structure, a little bit of respite, maybe. So what that may be suggesting is, you're going to have to take a little bit of time here. I want to look one more time here, though, at the grimoire on the Ace of Swords and see if there's anything else there that might be able to give us some information. You're limited, because you're trying to relate all of it to one another here. But yeah, cutting through illusion, I said that. Karmic balance. Oh, triumph over all odds, conquering hero returning from battle, actively invoked force. So there's some will there as well, isn't there? Yeah, this is full clarity, seeing everything as it is. So we know now what's gone on, evidently. I think there may be the fourth card, though, that might need to go between the 3 and that ace. Let's see if we can get something that shows what it is or how it is maybe we found out or something. But, well, okay, it's already here, but I'm still going to do the fourth card just to see. So we have 3 of Swords. Okay, we have a drama triangle, some jealousy, some betrayal, something like that. Then we find out, we're told about it from the Page of Cups. So we get a message about it. We get some information about it. We find out what's at the heart of it, in other words. See how I did that? Heart and cups. And then, now we're ready to cut through the illusion and experience things in full clarity and see things for how they are. We're not going to live in an illusion. We're not going to live in the illusion of what's going on behind our backs, because I really think that this was intentionally drawn this way in this Rider-Waite deck. I do believe that this is about something happening behind the back of one person. Or, if it's say if it's on a global thing, maybe you've got countries, a couple of countries that are trying to hoodwink another one. Oh, gee, really? Yeah, this isn't just about individuals, we're here collectively. We're part of a collective consciousness. So that we might appear separate, we might appear as individuals, but we're not. We're part of the same creative energy of source energy. All we are just little aspects of that focused into form. Make no mistake about it, we are just as essential to one another as every cell is to every other cell in our body. Without them, we don't live, do we? We become ill, we die. Or at the very least, our life isn't very good. But, to think that this isn't also something that's happening collectively, it is. So what manifests small manifests big. So, or vice versa. Let's do the fourth card. Almost dropped that one. Okay. I'm glad I did. Good day to Cups. We don't know if there's anything in these cups. Or wait, I don't want to bring that one up. What am I doing? Let's take that one back down. Trying to bring my my little rune order cheat sheet up here, and it vanished. I don't know where it went. But anyway, it's back up now. I also invoked Solar Fire, my astrology software. I don't know why I did that. Probably because they're right next to each other down at the bottom here. Anyhow, here's the 8 of Cups. We don't know if anything's left in those cups or not, but they're all standing, In the Wild Unknown, which is what I used for the monthly tarot reading, I also had the 8 of Cups. And how Kim Kranz portrays the 8 of Cups in her deck is you see just a solid mountain, black, and then you see cups that are broken, 8 cups below it. So you don't see an individual of any kind, but it's that you can go no further. And that's what this is. Even though the cup is not broken, he's walking away, and you can see a slight ascent there as he's walking up. So maybe it's going to be difficult to have some new emotional clarity here, but you're walking away from emotions that no longer serve you. Let's do the rune though. And then we'll do a geomancy rune. How are we doing on time? We're at 15 minutes, almost 16, so we're doing pretty well. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's 3, manifestation, mind, body, spirit alignment. Well, we have Manas, the 20th rune of the Elder Futhark. Now I'm going to do a little drawing today. Don't be frightened. Anyway, here you can see in there Gebo in the middle. You can see Vunyo forward and reversed. So joy extended and harmony and fellowship extended outward and inward in balanced energy exchanged with others. It's the rune of society. It's the rune of mankind. Being the 20th rune of the Elder Futhark, you're talking balance again. It's right after it's after Ewaz, which looks almost like it. It's like an M, but here you've got the little extra of the of Gebo. It's the rational mind. It's how fragile we really are, and how much we need each other. You know, and we need to live in joy and fellowship because the idea of humanity is fragile. What it is to be human, living life to the fullest, psychic harmony, social integration. That's what I was looking for. Social integration. Okay, now I'm going to draw. So, you know, cover the kids' eyes. So the thing about the runes, I'll draw Manas here. And then, all right, there's Manas. But what it's comprised of is Gebo, and it's comprised of Vunyo forward and reversed. So Gebo's next, there's the X, and then you see the P, and then the backwards P. Only it's drawn like this, actually, if you were to separate them. You see? So you see how these runes, they basically take other runic energies and they combine together. So in a sense, some of these runes are the equivalent of bind runes. So that's why the runes are so powerful, realistically, because just inherent in them alone are, I mean, Othala alone is said to contain all of the energies of all of the runes collectively. So I mean, theoretically, you could simply use Othala as I mean, you could use any of these really for a bind rune. I mean, really, just using one. Well, it might be a little hard with Isa or something like that. But you can see with some of these runes that there's a lot of different ones that it takes to make this up. And then you look at the description of Manas, and isn't it not about living in fellowship and joy and harmony with other people? See, that's the definition of it. That's the interpretation of it. Let's do a geomancy rune though. See what we come up with there. I'm just going to roll them around in my hands, and then I'll put them down. I'll see what dots I have. We'll put them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. Yesterday was easy because I had all single dots, and so that was via. But today we have, I'm going to need my magnifying glass here, turn on my light so I can see what these are. So we have fire, we have 1 dot. Get rid of that piece of paper. So we've got 1. And let's see, where is air? There's air. And there's one. Yeah, we're going to have kata again. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're going to have Fortuna minor. So some success, something positive. This is Fortuna minor, the opposite of Fortuna major. Fortuna major is great success, but it's from an inward perspective, really. It's generated inward. Fortuna minor is a little more external, fortunate but not as fortunate. You can see the opposite there with Fortuna major. But Fortuna minor is the, I mean, it means success. I'm going to double check here. It means success, but not fortunate, but not too fortunate. In other words, they say things like that, which I just find to be completely irritating. But where am I at here? Okay. It's success that's unstable, but it's an outer form of success. So it's more success that's transient in nature and changeable. So they be successful for a little while this project is going on. It's like when you build a career at a place, maybe you own the business or what have you, or maybe you don't, but you're somebody that's there and you've been there a long time and you've built your, maybe you're in a law practice or something and you're part of a group or whatever. So it's something that's going to be there for you. You take, and it takes a lot of internal, whatever commitment, perseverance to make all that happen. When you get so that is going to be something that's going to be Fortuna major. All right, Fortuna minor, on the other hand, would be something where it's short-term success. So maybe you're a contract worker where that you don't have a steady job. You're someone who has the skills and you put in the time, and that came from the internal part of it, the Fortuna major part of it. But the Fortuna minor means a minor type of success, one that isn't necessarily sustainable. So it depends on, am I going to get hired onto this project maybe? And I'll work there and I'll get some income there. But then when that's done, see, then you've got to go somewhere else. So that's one example of what maybe expressing Fortuna minor is. So it may just simply be indicative here. It could either relate to this reading or it doesn't. It's just something to think about. But in terms of fellowship with others, if there's not a true commitment to it, if it doesn't come from within, I think that may be what this is telling us. Then we're only going to have limited success. Now, here in the 8, we think 8, we think strength, we think leadership, we think greater harmony than the 6. So you're really having to think really beyond yourself when you get to the 8 numerologically. In here, and in the 8 of Cups, what he's done is he's just said, you know what, I'm going to take charge of my emotions now. And I'm going to guard them a little bit better than what I was doing maybe. Or I'm going to leave a situation that it's not worth staying in anymore. But again, without that full commitment, without embracing menas, and the vunya within that, and the balanced energy exchange, the gebo within that, without embracing that, then you're going to have limited success with, whatever you need to do to resolve this. Because let's face it, in drama triangles, sometimes you just have to walk away from them. Let those two figure it out for themselves. But you have to protect yourself. That's the other aspect of that. And I think with the 8, what we're seeing there, and if you think about this, he's doing it in full clarity, even though this is at night. If you take let me put my T down here. If you take the 2 of these together, what do you have? You have 11. Master number for illumination. So clearly some illumination happened, probably via the page, that we then decided to cut the crap of all of it and make a new decision. Okay. And the decision was to walk away from emotions that no longer serve, or emotional situation that no longer serves us. And without that commitment to do that, without the resolve from the Ace of Swords and the new clarity that we've gained, then we only have minor success at that. It's only an outward thing. And here's the other thing, this takes strength to do this. I mean, this really is an expression of Fortuna Major, really, to walk away like that from something that maybe you're hurt, you're wounded, you can't believe that happened. But some truth has come in here. So either collectively on societal level, world level, whatever, I don't know, or whether this is something that's just happened in your personal life. It's not fun to have this happen. But you can't live in illusion either. It may be unpleasant. You might have some change you have to make, but it's better than staying here. You don't need to deal with deception. You don't. I can't stand it. It's an empath trait, but empaths always know when people are lying, or at least when they're not telling the truth. Sometimes, for me, I experience it as energy getting more dense. It's like things get thickening. There's a thickening to the air. Thickening to the energy, and it's like, okay, things aren't flowing the way they should. So what's really going on here? So I feel in a little bit, and you can tell if it's just somebody trying to be private. So they're not going to tell you everything. So it might come across as, oh, they're lying. Well, no. Well, I mean, they kind of are, but it's not. I mean, you have to look at the intention behind it. Some people just don't want to tell you everything, and maybe you're being nosy, so maybe they just want to hold things back. So that's one level of it. But then you really know when it's something else, and it's such a difficult experience. I just anymore, I don't deal well with it. I really don't. It's like, oh, come on. And people don't, and if they don't know me and they don't know that I'm this way, then, I generally don't say anything, or I'll find a way to do it. But if it's somebody I know, it's like, no. That's not true. That's not true. You can't lie to me. You can't lie to any empath. We're gonna know. We just know. And so to live in the deception of that, right? To live in that and not be able to say anything, it's like it all goes in, it all happens within us, right? So we know what we know, and then we have to make a decision about it. So it's almost like this is a reading for an empath, It's like, yeah, just go, separate yourself from it, from the experience of it all. Maybe the folks will realize eventually, what they did and and maybe they'll come to you and apologize. Who knows? But you cannot allow them to continue the behavior. So take charge of your own participation in it. And if you can't find a way to resolve it immediately because you don't want this to continue, if you can't find immediate resolution, then you're going to have to make a decision, and you might have to, separate your attention from them a little bit. Remove your attention from them, remove your emotion from the situation, view it with dispassion, and just realize that this stuff belongs to them and that you can see it. I mean, it's awful, it's hurtful, but you can let that hurt go because it's no longer going to happen to you. You're going to take charge of it now. So anyhow, that's cool. Well, all right, folks. Have a great weekend. Again, I think that we're heading in a different direction now. I think that we're starting to see what's really going on in our lives and what's really going on in our world. And we're starting to maybe question what we thought was happening, and we're starting to reevaluate our perceptions on everything. And maybe we're willing to start considering the possibility of something else that might be true instead of the illusion we've been living under. And I think that maybe we're having a little bit of courage now, and we're starting to move in another direction, both emotionally and intellectually, with our will. And all of that is going to, if we do it right, if we start seeing the truth for what it is and then making our decisions accordingly, not being, conned or sold a bill of goods or believing what people tell us. No, figure it out for yourself. Go within, do your research, whatever you have to do, whatever it applies to. Sometimes you've got to get in, you've got to start investigating, for yourself, reading things, I don't know, listening to the news or researching something, if you're not simply going to feel it and know it within, maybe you need more information, but go get it. Don't simply live in the illusions someone else wants you to buy into, in other words. So think about that for the weekend, see if that doesn't resonate for you somehow. And we'll come back together on Monday and go again. See if we add to this week or if we maybe take a new direction. So anyhow, thank you so much for coming by. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.